Elizabeth never imagined life among the stars would feel so lonely. 6 Years had passed since the war that shattered her home planet and left countless worlds struggling to rebuild. As a xeno-engineer on the frontier station Nova Point, Elizabeth poured her heart into repairing damaged ships, reverse engineering lost technology, and pretending everything was fine for the sake of the one person that mattered, her daughter, Lyra. Lyra was 7 cycles old, clever, bold, and far too observant. "Mom? You're doing it again?" Lyra said one morning, her small lavender fingers tapping impatiently against the breakfast table. Elizabeth blinked. "Doing what?" "Staring into the void like you lost your last brain cell." Lyra crossed her arms. "You need friends." "Or a boyfriend." Elizabeth choked on her coffee. "Lyra, it's true." Lyra huffed. "You fix starships and defeat scary plasma leaks, but you can't talk to a guy? I don't want you to be lonely." Elizabeth smiled tiredly. Her daughter tried so hard to be the light in both of their lives. And yet the war had left Elizabeth wary of getting close to anyone again. "I appreciate the thought," she said gently, "but dating isn't too late." Lyra interrupted, hopping off her chair. "Come on, we're going now." Elizabeth watched the girl run to the door, waving a digital holocard. "Blind date," she announced proudly. "I signed you up for one." "You did what?" But Lyra was already sprinting down the corridor. Elizabeth groaned, set her cup down, and hurried after her daughter. The blind date Lyra dragged Elizabeth through the lively district of Nova Point, neon signs flickering in alien languages, vendors selling fried starfish snacks, ships humming overhead. They finally stopped outside a small cafe called the Comet's Nest. "Your date is inside," Lyra whispered with a mischievous grin. Lyra. "Why?" Elizabeth asked, voice soft but sad. "Why push this so hard?" The little girl looked up at her, eyes shimmering. "Because I want you to be happy, Mom. You always look like you're fighting a battle no one else sees." Elizabeth's heart tightened. She knelt, pulling Lyra into a tight hug. "I'll go meet him," she promised. "But you have to behave, okay?" Lyra nodded, satisfied. Mission underway. Elizabeth inhaled deeply and stepped into the cafe. The human veteran was sitting alone at a corner booth, broad shoulders, quiet intensity. Wearing a well-worn jacket patched with old insignia, Evan Halley, a human veteran. His gaze met hers, sharp, alert yet warm beneath the guarded surface. He stood as she approached. "You must be Elizabeth," he said, offering a hand. "Yes," she replied, taking it. "And you're Evan?" He nodded once. "Blind dates are weird." Elizabeth let out a nervous laugh. "Extremely." They sat down. Conversation flowed easier than she expected. He told her about serving in the Interstellar Defense Corps, the battles he survived, the comrades he did, and single quotes. He spoke without bravado, only honesty. And when she told him about engineering, about Lyra, about rebuilding their life, he actually listened. There was something deeply human about him that felt steady, real. A sudden crisis, a loud crash shattered the peaceful moment. The cafe shook as the lights flickered. Elizabeth leapt to her feet, instincts taking over. "Structural breach?" Evan's jaw tightened. "No." That sounded like a plasma detonation. Screams erupted outside. Through the cafe windows, a massive cargo drone spiraled out of control, fire trailing behind it, heading straight toward the marketplace. "Lyra!" Elizabeth gasped. Without hesitation, Evan grabbed her wrist. "Let's move." They sprinted outside. The drone hit the street in a fiery impact, sending debris flying. Civilians scattered in panic. And there, separated from safety, stood Lyra, frozen in terror as a fuel cell near her sparked violently. Elizabeth's voice broke into a scream. "Lyra!" Evan didn't stop running. He vaulted over a flipped vendor cart, sliding across burning debris. He reached Lyra in seconds, shielding her under his body just as the fuel cell exploded. Flames roaring outward, Elizabeth's heart nearly tore apart, but Evan emerged from the smoke. Arms wrapped tight around her daughter, unharmed except for scorch marks on his jacket. He carried Lyra to Elizabeth. The girl burst into tears, clinging to her mother. "You're okay?" Elizabeth whispered shakily. You're both okay. Evan checked the girl anxiously. Any injuries? Lyra sniffled. You? You saved me. Evan managed a faint smile. Couldn't let the universe lose its bravest matchmaker. Lyra giggled through her tears and buried her face into Elizabeth's shoulder. Humanity's strengthy emergency responders arrived. Engineers rushed to contain the fire, but Elizabeth couldn't take her eyes off Evan. Most species assumed humans were reckless or savage, the survivors of an angry blue world. But here, right in front of her, stood a human who embodied the very best of his kind: courage without hesitation, kindness without calculation, strength without cruelty. He looked at her, expression softening. I know fear, I know loss, but I also know we keep going for the people we love. Elizabeth felt warmth bloom in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The real mission later. After the chaos settled, Evan walked them back toward their quarters. Lyra skipped between them, humming like nothing dangerous had ever happened. Then she looked up with the biggest grin. Sue! Second date? Elizabeth flushed. Lyra. Evan laughed, a deep, genuine sound that made Elizabeth's heart flutter. Well, he said, glancing at Elizabeth, I'd like that. If your mom would too. She hesitated. Only a moment. Yes, she answered quietly. I would. Lyra pumped her fist triumphantly. Mission success? Evan raised a brow. Mission? Lyra nodded proudly. Make my mom smile again. He looked at Elizabeth, that soldier's seriousness returning, but softer. Warmer. Looks like we both owe your daughter a lot, he said. Elizabeth took his hand, this time without fear. And maybe, she said, eyes bright, the universe is finally giving us a chance to build something better. Lyra cheered, wrapping her small hands around theirs, 3 hearts, scarred but beating, stepping into a future finally worth dreaming about, and somewhere above them, the stars shone a little brighter for humanity. HFY